How's everybody doing this morning? Feeling okay? Okay. Okay, well, I'm Cammy Keiler. As our wonderful MC Seb mentioned, I'm with Alembic. Alembic is a measurement platform that helps you stop guessing and start knowing. We are effectively a mathematical model with a ton of compute behind it, so we can ingest a lot of enterprise data and help C-suite understand really minute decisions and how they connect to business outcomes. Before I let my panelists here introduce each of themselves, I'll give you a little bit of a background on what it is that we're going to talk about. Okay, so marketing has spent a decade adapting to fragmented audiences, lots of different media channels, personalized feeds, very short attention spans, and yet a handful of moments, like the World Cup, like the Knicks, we're going to focus on FIFA though, still pull billions of people into one shared experience. And so this team here are experts at making sure that those cultural moments aren't just a spike, that they actually have lasting meaning and presence for the brand. So I'd love you to just go down the line and introduce yourselves, what you do. Start with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Rani, can you hear me? Yes. I work at Unilever Personal Care, and I lead growth and transformation for the company. So a lot of the things that we will be discussing, changing how we communicate, how we interact, and how we bring our brands to our audience.
Hi everyone, my name is Afke. I work also in personal care, Unilever, leading a team that works brand agnostic, integrated brand experiences, leading everything, marketing transformation, marketing, influencer marketing, but also everything in the space of media and sports and entertainment partnerships.
Hi everyone, I'm Claudia. So I work on Dove at Unilever, and I lead everything across PR, creator, brand experience, and brand-owned social.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's start with you, Rani. When we met, you said that for a moment like the World Cup, that visibility is not enough. I'd love you to expand on that and the traps that brands can fall into when they start chasing visibility rather than something more meaningful.
Yes, I think we're coming from a moment where in the past people were buying visibility, were buying media, and were measuring everything on the basis of reach and impressions. And the trap is to treat sponsorships or treat those cultural moments as a media buy. And what we're trying to do is to move from visibility to what is important to us is creating participation. So something where there's an exchange of experiences between the brands and the consumers through the platforms with the creators. So it's an ecosystem that is much more two-sided as opposed as the brands just imposing their visibility on people. It creates moments of collaboration, of co-creation, of engagement, where people really interact with the brands, share, build content, and this is for us what really matters today.
How are you doing that? Give us an example through the lens of your FIFA World Cup sponsorship.
Yeah, so it's really about using a big cultural moment. the FIFA World Cup is one of them, to understand what matters to people from a cultural standpoint and how the brands can play an authentic role in it. So we're trying to distinguish between just showing up and putting a logo on a World Cup activation versus creating moments, spaces where people engage with that cultural moment with our brands. Good examples, and I think Afke might share some more detailed examples. We're creating what we call the House of Fresh, where our brands show up, each one of our brands with a different angle and with a different story. And those are live places where creators, celebrities, and the brands show up together to co-create content, to just spend time leveraging the World Cup moment together. And this creates huge content. This creates huge, memorable moments that stick with people because they participate in these moments. So they're not passive, they're interacting with the brands. And this creates then lasting, repeatable memory structures that stick with the brand.
And so culture, to some brands can look like a shortcut to relevance. I've heard this before. So why do you argue it's the opposite, that it's actually a long-term way to build brand strength?
Well, I think yes, culture can be a shortcut, but the way we try to do it is we try to show up, first of all, knowing exactly what our brands stand for, understanding what the cultural moment means and how we connect it to the brand so that there's a authenticity that is built. And then the other thing which is extremely important is consistency over time. So just doing one thing and then moving to something completely different and then hopping around doesn't build those repeatable memory structures. And I think building consistency of engagement over time with authenticity and a clarity of what the brand stands for is what compounds over time and builds the salience, the engagement, and really the memorability of the brand.
So would you say it's the micro moments within the moment overall that helps you get there?
Correct, and you can have smaller cultural moments, bigger cultural moments, but the reality is if you're able to show up into this moment with clarity on your brand, a very authentic message, then the impact of this moment just gets amplified.
Yeah. Well, creator ecosystems are changing how people discover and decide. So how has that reshaped the way that you think about influence as a team?
I would say completely, because the influence now is completely decentralized. And the funnel is, of course, not anymore linear. It's completely exploded. The way we try to build this at Unilever is we're treating creators as not as a media channel, but a strategic ecosystem for us. So we work with them, we collaborate with the brands, and we, through the activations that we do, make sure that they're able to interact with our brands, create content, and there's an entire ecosystem that gets created all the way to commerce. And this allows us to, I would say, power our communication and power the way the brands show up.
Where does AI fit in for you in terms of tracking trends, determining what to do next? Does it fit in?
Completely. AI for us is a strategic enabler of everything that we're doing. So for us, the benefit that we get out of using AI is multiple. It gives us more speed. It allows us in a moment like the World Cup where we have to create huge volumes of content. It allows us to power this content creation through volume and through speed. It also allows us to better listen to the conversations that are happening. So we're putting in place some pretty cool social listening tools, which are multimodal, allow us in real time to understand any conversation, whether it's written or video or image, and then connected with what is happening elsewhere to be able to react and intervene and create content. So on multiple fronts, I would say AI is a strategic enabler for everything we're doing.
Got it.
Now, having said that, what is extremely important as well is we maintain a very strong human dimension to everything that we're doing. So the creativity, the brand understanding, the judgment is all done by us, by humans.
So it's not just human in the loop. It's human led.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, so your thesis about visibility to participation, Afke, you're the one who has to turn that into something real across dozens of brands and dozens of markets. What does that actually look like on the ground? You're activating across more than 35 brands, right? And 120 plus markets. No small feat. Walk us through House of Fresh in the locker room. So what are they? What is the mechanism that turns a stadium moment into something more lasting?
So basically, you could say that the World Cup is one of the biggest cultural sports moments ever. This tournament is the biggest ever. And we really wanted to find ways to cut through the noise in this digitally connected, AI-driven world. So House of Fresh is basically our in real life multi-brand activation space. It's designed for the feed. It's really designed for creators to come in and experience the brands firsthand and create content that is really authentic in their view. You know, so how do they see the brand? Immerse themselves in the brand. the locker room is part of this. So Rani was already mentioning how we have these really cool social listening tools. The locker room is actually our 24/7 social media hub, where we have a really rich team with all different kinds of expertise and disciplines coming together to create that content in an agile and responsive way. So there is a combination of, we're bringing in what we call others say. So our creators, we're deploying 50,000 creators across the globe during the World Cup. What this looks like is, we have four brands that are mostly activated, which are Dove, Dove Men, Rexona, in the US known as Degree, and in the UK known as Sure, and Axe, known in the UK as Lynx. These are the four key brands that we're activating. What we're seeing is that this really hunger for human connection is real, and with House of Fresh, we really want to bring people together in a way that they can then experience the brands. And what that does actually is then bring the content into the conversations that the consumers are having around the World Cup.
And so, okay, so the locker room you said is a 24/7 social hub. So with that kind of volume and content, how do you ensure that you're picking up on the right things that are constantly in your face all the time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way we've designed the World Cup activation is we've designed a global platform.
Yep.
And then, of course, that needs to come to life locally because, locally there are so many different fan rituals. There are different ways that people experience the sports. For example, in Mexico, that's very different from what's happening in Europe, UK, or even in the US. So we really want to play on that local relevance and make sure that what we say matters. And we want to be there before the match,
Right.
during the match, at halftime, when people turn away from TV. TV is still important in this. It's one of the very few remaining appointment to watch moments, right? You want to watch the match.
Sports, yeah.
So when you turn away at halftime, check your feed. We want to be there with the relevant content, and basically ensure that people experience the tournament through our brands. So we've defined very clear territories where each of the brands plays. So for Rexona, for example, it's very much the performance under pressure, how the Rexona never lets you down in these moments where you're craving freshness and confidence. That's just one example. Claudia, I'm sure, is going to speak about Dove, how that shows up, but then executing that with rigor and discipline across those brands is really key for us.
Well, I think the mention of rigor and discipline, I think, you even said that in different markets, the same product has a different brand to it, right? So in that way, you have the House of Fresh in the locker room. How do you maintain consistency across brands and the way that they feel, the way that they come across in 120 different markets?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is really where I think you can make a difference in the way that you organize for such a large event. As I was mentioning, this global platform, local relevance, I think the defined territories, and then when something happens and we want to respond to those moments, being very clear about which are the territories that each brand owns, so that they can be reactive. We don't want to be debating who gets to respond to what, right? So we've put in a lot of time and effort to make sure that everyone's clear on what is their space. And then when these moments pop up, it's very clear in which distinct way they are going to respond to those moments. And that, I think that's the key of being relevant and agile in your responsiveness.
Yeah. Well, I think every marketer can relate to, a tense relationship with a CFO at one point or another in their career, if not now. And so with that, you mentioned about how, essentially 120 markets don't all get the same attention from a financing standpoint, right? So how do you decide on who gets what, like how do you prioritize which brands, right, within the portfolio. And then two, I'd love to know a little bit about the case that you make internally about the return on investment beyond just these singular moments in terms of moving sales.
Yeah. So what's really good to note is that actually our CFO is one of the biggest cheerleaders and very, very tightly involved in this whole
You're lucky.
FIFA. It's really a game changer. I'm sure many of you have seen the sponsorship that we've done with the subboards and Rexona, the tick on the shirt of the referees and the I think, that kind of additional thing that would be very difficult to come to life without the support of the CFO, because it was an additional activity that came along and an opportunity that we were able to jump on. The way we're measuring success in this is twofold. On the one hand, of course, it needs to drive growth, growth for our business. We developed 180 limited edition products for the different brands. And these are, of course, enabling us to really increase distribution. They're democratizing the tournaments because consumers can have FIFA IP products in their bathrooms. And so growth is one avenue. On the other hand, of course, it's also about how we are establishing the brand equity. And salience is one, but I think this is really enabling us, at least that's what we're aiming for, to define more meaningful and difference for our brands, drive new penetration, new consumers to brand. Those are metrics that are very, very important. And of course, we're going to be doing a big wash up after the tournaments to see how the ROI actually delivered. And that's going to inform so much moving forward.
Yeah.
Can I?
I'd love you to add.
In addition to what Afke mentioned, which is you have to look at the numbers and the engagement and everything. But I think for a cultural moment like a World Cup, which is a huge undertaking for us, the way we like to frame it as well is you have to think about the type of capabilities that you're able to build for that moment that you will maintain after time. So what we are seeing is a huge step up on our end and with our agencies in terms of our capabilities, in terms of building a creator ecosystem, real-time content development, social first capabilities. This whole thing about the House of Reg, which is an offline thing going online, those are capabilities that have significantly stepped up. You can't put a ROI on it, but that is true benefit that we're getting out of it.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. We kind of call it the new muscle that we've established and that was going to travel with us forever in how we approach these kind of really big cultural moments.
Okay. And okay, so scale is one thing. Earning the right to be in the moment is another. Claudia, Dove found a very specific role inside the World Cup. I'd love for you to tell us about that. So you showed up at the World Cup with The Game Is Ours, right? How did you decide what Dove had the right to say and in that football moment? And how did you do that? How did you do that without just borrowing the spotlight in a more sustainable way?
Yeah, we get that a lot. Why is Dove at FIFA? And it does seem like a question, but actually we've been showing up at sports for 3 years now with something called the Body Confidence Sport Program. And for us, it's just, finding the authentic spot for Dove. And football is too big an opportunity, right, for us not to tap into. It's one of the last, you said in your intro, it's one of the last remaining cultural, mass participation moments. So we have to get into it. We have to use it to raise awareness of what we're trying to do for girls and women. We just need to do it in an authentic way. We're never going to try and out football. So we center the girls. What are they might not be on the pitch, but they're still enjoying the sport. And that's what The Game Is Ours is all about. I think we have like 90 girls in that campaign. The sound of them laughing and joking and dancing and just engaging with sport.
I love that. And that work centers just like a lot of Dove's work around girls' confidence, participation and belonging in sport. And so why was that the authentic part or place for Dove specifically to show up rather than just any other brand in the portfolio with a budget?
Yeah, well, that's because that's what Dove stands for, right? We stand for women and girls. Everything that we do comes from an insight. In this case, what set us off on this whole sports journey 3 years ago was the insight that 1 in 2 girls, so half of girls, are dropping out of sport because they're criticized for their body. They're told their body does not belong in whatever sporting space they're in, which is so sad because they're not dropping out because they've fallen out of love with the sport. So we just need to find the right stories to tell, and how do we center girls within this moment? The game is ours and the campaign is one thing. We also have something called JoyCam, which is a partnership with Getty, where we are finding girls in the audiences at key matches, you know, when they're screaming for their team, when they're celebrating a goal. And that's what we're putting out on our social channels through our creators, the joy of the girls. So again, it all comes back to centering them and finding the authentic way for Dove to tell our stories in this moment. Another one is, which I'm obsessed with, the US are working with a referee called Tori Penso. I don't know if anyone's been seeing her in lots of the coverage, but she's the first American female ref to go to the Men's World Cup. So we're working with her. She's got a Dove whistle. She's got she's got 3 daughters. She's got the names of her daughters on her football boots. So again, even though it's the men's tournament, we are showing up for girls, role modeling, showing them that there's a place for them in sport. I've loved the commentary around Tori. Yeah, so it's been a worthwhile challenge, I would say, but I am definitely looking forward to the Women's World Cup next year.
I love it. I love it. So you're using creative and creators and social storytelling to do the heavy lift there. All right, so every brand purpose conversation hits that same tension. Relevance and meaning on one side, commercial impact on the other. So how are you measuring impact as it relates to the work that you're doing?
Yeah, it's another question we got a lot, and I've seen it's a lot on talking around at CAT. I don't see those two things as actually kind of mutually exclusive. I think on Dove, we've definitely had success by building the brand, the long game, and that has grown the brand over time. So I'm a firm believer that, that you build the brand and it grows, and we know relevant brands grow faster.
Love it. Okay. We have about 2 minutes left, so we're going to move into a little bit of a rapid question for each of you, okay? Afke, the first one goes to you. TV no longer reaches Gen Z the way that it did. So in one answer, what is the mechanism that actually reaches them now?
Yeah, so this is one of the key questions that everybody is looking for. I think making sure that we show up in the channels, of course, that are relevant to them. We partner very closely with Google. So YouTube, for example, now in this tournament is really key for us. TikTok as well. But I think beyond channels, it's also about talking about something they care about. And this is where, being really, really invested in the deep cultural insight matters, because we just need to know what they care about and insert our brands in those conversations.
Love it. All right, Rani, what's the biggest risk for brand chasing cultural relevance, the thing that quietly destroys value, as you said?
I think it's really, if you chase visibility just for the sake of visibility, you lose the focus on relevance. So it's really not confusing visibility and impressions on one hand, and relevance and authenticity on the other hand.
So it's a waste of money to chase visibility.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, Claudia, one piece of advice for a marketer in this room that's building towards a moment like this, what would you tell them?
Mine is play the long game.
Play the long game.
Don't fall into short-termism. If you just keep chasing something in very short term, you're not actually going to perform. And if you build the brand long term, it will perform.
Okay. All right, we're going to go to a lightning close.
Oh, yes.
So finish this sentence, each of you. We prepared for this. Last thing. Okay. Finish this line. The difference between a brand that shows up in culture and one that actually grows from it is
long-term growth.
long-term growth. Afke.
Deep brand love.
Deep brand love.
The ability to build intimacy with your audience.
Well, you all have done a fantastic job of doing that. It's very fun to watch as an audience.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Enjoy Cannes, everybody.